Ladies and gentlemen, it's so good to see you again. Welcome to Detroit by Night, Overhaul, Episode 2, Cleanup Crew. After the Coterie had been introduced formally to the court by their sires, each one stating their case and their usefulness to the prince himself, Prince Lagon had met with their sires. Harpy Telly, who had been announcing the proceedings, took a moment to allow the coterie to introduce themselves, talk amongst themselves, get to know one another, and who they'll be working for, and who they'll be working with. Unfortunately, apparently a complication had arisen because a driver for a VIP coming in from the city of New Sarum, well, the driver's brake lines were cut. No further details were given, though that may arouse suspicion in some. Suffice it to say, after a small meeting, the Harpy, Herald, if you're so formal, Telly ended up coming to the coterie. This night watch was to end up going to a specific location, finding the VIP, introduce themselves, give them an understanding of the city, and bring them to Elysium. Relatively simple. Pardon. And when they ended up meeting this individual, who goes by the name Al, well, Al seems like a fairly nonchalant guy. Claims to be another neonate, same as them, though they may have their suspicions. After all, apparently some of the higher-ups in the Camarilla have arranged this, and now the coterie has taken this individual, Al, driven him out to one of the local hotspots to get a drink after his long journey. It was there they ended up coming to understand that they were being watched, that everything wasn't quite what it seemed. So, after a rousing moment, you ended up finding themselves embroiled in a bit of intrigue. Spies abound, and we end up finding ourselves with the coterie being watched. Unfortunately, that's not the only thing that happened. Apex, trying to, well, catch one of these interlopers while he was watching from the Humvee limousine, caught an individual with a camera, apparently recording movements. After confronting the individual and taking the phone, a fight broke out and Apex lost control into frenzy. After being able to get across the street and then getting the phone, the incident left the kind turned into paste. A scream arose, and left alone with the body, it was only by happenstance that Adrian of Clan Tremere, one of his coterie members, would end up eventually finding themselves after talking with another spy, so to speak, trying to rush across the street to assist Apex, only to get hit by a car. Now, after this encounter, many are starting to come out of the woodwork. While Apex may have ended up getting just a woman screaming, Adrian's blunder has left him hurt, crumbled, and now in the middle of the street, with a crowd starting to gather. Vivian, Tegan, and Frank are still inside, still getting to know this individual. When a commotion is breaking out from inside, many are starting to go outside to observe what might be happening. As Apex hangs on to the remains of a body that is more wet and liquid than it is solid, Adrian finds traffic has slowed to a stop. Many coming out. Maybe a good Samaritan or two in the crowd. Maybe a few vloggers or somebody who just wants to record something awesome that happened at the club tonight. This has left several complications. And given on how thin the ice is already for this coterie after their introductions, failure is not an option. I want to take the mind of each of these kindred. So tonight, I think we will start with Tegan. Tegan, would you mind giving us a quick recap of the events, where your mind is at this given time, where you are in the club at this given time, and maybe your reactions to everything that's happening?
Well, last that we left off, to my understanding, there was some sort of commotion going on outside. Presumably, I can already tell it's got something to do with us. Because, of course, trouble follows things like us. Or maybe it's the other way around. We are the trouble. Probably that. I was really enjoying this evening. Getting to know Al as a character is very interesting. Seems to level with others, but at the same time, given a position, some sort of conflict of any sorts, his disposition changes quickly. I'm not sure if that's just the nature of Kindred themselves, or if that's him specifically, but to say he's simply a neonate is putting it lightly. There's a lot more to this.
I imagine
Now,
so.
whether or not I would trust him is a question that I will have to figure out later, whether or not I want to make some sort of connection with him, and allyship, so to speak, is more within range of what I'm hoping to achieve this evening. At least be within his good graces.
One can only hope. But you're not the only one. Is right now in the club, if I recall, you are actually speaking with Frank. Now, Frank, what a Tremere you are. Almost a traditionalist, as it were. I'd like to end up hearing your thoughts and what you're hoping to accomplish in this small time you have.
Well, for the most of the earlier parts of the evening, Frank has been very underwhelmed. There was the high tension point of introducing himself as the official child of Valentine to the prince. But beyond that social anxiety, he's had no real chance to leverage his ability. He's basically a glorified tour guide at the moment. And his mind has been kind of running a little bit of paranoia scenarios, just keep active. He also is suspicious of Al, but logically he can't find a good reason at the moment to actually distrust him. The group, the motley crew that's been put together, he respects most of them because he feels like he can understand most of them, except, of course, for Apex, who he has not yet found something to kind of understand about this creature.
Well, it always comes down to leverage.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just the norm for kindred. Though, speaking of leverage, we have one who has been doing a fair amount to try and develop those positions, and right now plays a host to the newcomer to the city, Al. Vivian, you've been walking alongside him, and it wasn't until his attention was caught to the door. You were having quite the pleasant conversation.
Yes, well, tonight has been interesting, to be sure. Al seems a intriguing person, so I am not sure how he is going to take the current situation, but he definitely has me concerned. I mean, my very first meeting with him, he took off my tie and replaced it with his own. That has kind of set me on the back foot and made me cautious, especially when he seems nonplussed about grabbing a cold one. I'm not sure how they did things where he came from, but killing someone is generally frowned upon. At least for as lighter reasons as feeding.
Yes, domains can change very swiftly. The internal rules, the unspoken rules, those little bits of etiquette shared, vary from court to court. And Al very much is alien compared to those you've run into. Seeming good-natured for the most part. Unfortunately, everybody else has their suspicions, and they may not be unwarranted. Still, you've tried to make quite the impression. Though, let's be honest here, his claim to changing your tie out was his disappointment in the half-Windsor knot you ended up putting on. Apparently that was just something that irked him well enough to end up offering his own and doing it proper. Might speak a bit about the man. Then the spotlight shifts. Sometimes onto individuals you don't want it on. Apex, you ended up having a woman scream as you were starting to drag the body of your victim deeper into the alleyway. Honestly, you're not sure on how the arm is still staying intact enough to carry the majority of the corpse, and it's leaving quite the little bit of a trail. The scream was enough to end up getting you to turn around, and you ended up, through the mask you wear, able to end up seeing Adrian, who was giving chase, his assistants, only to get hit by an oncoming vehicle. He's in a crumpled heap right now. You can already hear a lot of the traffic now trying to screech to a halt to not end up causing a further incident. Now, you're left with a body, perhaps a witness. If you don't do anything soon, that crowd that is currently coming out of the nightclub, who is currently looking after this accident, might look across the street and see what you are. with this body that has been mangled beyond all repair. Give me your thoughts on the events, how things ended up transpiring, and where's Apex headspace now?
I was just supposed to make sure that the recorder wasn't going to record anymore, and my attitude got me in trouble. Even though this is a bad situation, at least Adrian has taken some eyes off of the alleyway, except for the woman. I need to try to get this body out of here before more eyes look over here. Hopefully I can get the body out of the way enough to try to figure something out. Maybe we can even switch the body with Adrian, maybe. I fucked up real bad. We'll see.
Just realized I was muted. It's quite the situation, Apex. You with this body that has clearly been mashed into pulp could qualify as a masquerade breach. You're currently with your hands on the body, and the longer this takes, the more witnesses there are. And the only blessing you have right now is your comrade, who is currently face down on the concrete. Managed to slide a good 10 feet from the impact. Adrian, you're currently laying on that cold asphalt. The skin has been stripped from a portion of your face, your forearms. You think some of your fingers are broken from the impact. It's painful, certainly. It's not that sharp pain you remember in life. It's more of an uncomfortable feeling, being aware that your body is not functioning the way it should. It's almost like a spastic twitch you can't control until you look at it, maybe shifting one eye to get a better look, and realizing that a portion of your eyelid is currently laying sideways over your eye, making it hard to focus. You might be a corpse right now, according to many who are viewing, but you do hear the commotion outside. Give us your thoughts on the events that have transpired, and what you might do.
Well, I hadn't intended to get hit by a car, but given what I'm overhearing from Apex, having heightened my senses for a moment, it might be a good thing. Unintentional, but maybe a good enough distraction to keep him from being spotted anymore. The night was going pretty well, I think, for most everyone except maybe me. When it came to Al, he gave me a pretty bad stink eye a couple of times, and I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know what to think of him. I don't know what to think of a lot of the people in my coterie at this point. But we did decide we are a coterie. We're all responsible for each other. Or so it goes. And so I suppose I'll play dead. Ish, I guess. To do what I can to keep Apex from being any more seen than he already is, because this is a shit show. This is already a shit show. And the last thing I wanted. Hopefully it goes well. If we make it out of this alive, we'll owe somebody big, I'm sure.
Yeah. If anybody thinks you're worth collecting on. But then again, every problem is an opportunity. We'll end up seeing on how opportunistic you are, Adrian.
We'll see.
Now, that being said, Frank and Tegan, we're going to start with you because you end up hearing the commotion. Everybody's getting their attention to end up going outside. Now, it is not the entire club, to be clear, but you can start to see a few people talking. Some people have taken advantage of the sudden clearing of the dance floor to get a good position. Others are going for a drink because now everybody else is clearing out. So you're not dealing with an entire nightclub stepping outside, but you are seeing a lot of commotion and a lot of people stepping out. You're unaware of the events that may have transpired outside. You can see Al and Vivian, the gentlemen are currently conversing, when their eyes are turned towards the door as well. You two were in mid-conversation at that time. So we'll begin the scene there, with the music still going, and the crowd starting to ebb and flow in very different directions than if it was just a night out. Something's going on. Something's going down. And it comes to the Tremere and the La Sombra to end up making a choice as to what happens next.
I look over to Frank, concern on my face. Oh heavens. Do you think
What's
that has
wrong?
something? I have a bad feeling about this. Shall we go investigate?
Frank looks around. What do you mean?
Seems to be a commotion going on outside. Can I listen in on what's being said? What kind of voices and rumors are being passed around in this moment?
Certainly. Roll me a wits awareness -1. Because right now you're trying to single out a moment of conversation in mass confusion. You don't catch any specifics. You do know that somebody got hit outside. You're not sure if that means like somebody got punched out, or if somebody took a baseball bat, or if somebody got pancakes. You don't know what the deal is. You're getting a lot of conflicting information, and probably because it's a large game of very fast-paced telephone right now. So no one knows exactly what's going on, but there's quite a few people who are interested in finding out.
I am as well. Regardless of which way someone got hit, I'm still a doctor, medical professional, so...
And how glad it is to end up seeing that you are on the scene. A doctor in the house, finally. Frank, what about you? Do you follow Tegan?
Well, inwardly, Frank's not quite sure what's going on. He's not really a clubber. He's not used to the movements of the crowds, and he tried using his vampiric heightened senses before, and it didn't turn out too well, so he's not too interested in overhearing people at the moment. He does have a curious side, but I think he's gonna go find Al first and tell him that they're going to check on something.
Okay. So, Tegan, You're making your way towards the door. Frank, you're making your way towards the pair of Vivian and Al. Two gentlemen, impeccably dressed. It's at that point, Al is preoccupied in just observing the crowd. You end up seeing that it's gone from a very friendly demeanor to something that is distant, cold. Observing. You can almost see him taking mental notes of every face he's running across. Vivian, what do you do?
Do I see Frank approaching us?
You most certainly will.
Okay, I will turn to Elle and say, I will find out what happened. Do not worry yourself too much. Feel free to use this distraction to grab a drink, and I am sure we will have a better understanding of the situation by the time you are back. And I will move to head off Frank.
Okay.
Because I know from previous interactions that Frank is not the smoothest of talkers.
Fair enough. Al simply nods to you. Of course, Vivian. Of course. He seems amused as he starts to walk towards what seems to be the barkeep, though you do notice that his eyes... He's walking in such a way that he can keep his eyes on the door. But in doing so, he is giving you and Frank a chance to converse.
Frank, what's happening?
Mr. Remington, there seems to be some kind of commotion outside. I was hoping that we could go and check it out. I wanted to make sure that Al was, that we don't leave him alone.
I think it is better leaving him to find a drink while we figure out whether this is important, whether this involves us, or whether we can just ignore it. And I really, really hope we can just ignore it, but
Miss Moore already went out to check. I'm sure she's quite capable.
That really depends on the situation, so let's go find out.
Frank looks a little distraught at that.
Two more bodies won't be noticed amongst the crowd. Hopefully we can just observe and then come back in, but...
No, I'm not worried about noticing. I'm uneasy about leaving L unsupervised.
I would much rather leave him in here rather than take him out there where there is a commotion. Besides which, he is feeding. He is getting a drink. That will keep him occupied for a while, at least. Unless you have voyeuristic tendencies, that is, I don't think he'd like being watched.
No, I guess that's fine.
As I'm saying this, I'm kind of moving with the crowd towards the door.
Yeah, Frank will be lugging behind.
Okay. Now, we're gonna give Apex and Adrian about 2 minutes apiece to be able to react to what is happening before everybody arrives out. Not that Apex and Adrian are aware of that time, of course, but I want to know what their initial reactions are. Let us start with Apex. Apex, you just saw Adrian get hit by a car. You see a crowd starting to develop. You got a body on your hands, and you are currently finding your gear blood-soaked. You're in an alleyway. It might be a little bit dark, but it doesn't take long for somebody else to notice. And the only thing giving you any time at all is the distraction that Adrian has accidentally given you.
Okay, with that noted, I need to try and pick up the body so it's not leaving a blood trail at this point.
It is
And
mostly
hit
hamburger at this point, Apex. You did quite a number on it.
Can I try to bundle it up in my shirt? One of the outer shirts. So even if
That's gonna take a little bit of time. I'll say
Mm,
that it is possible, but remember that it's going to take more time to be able to end up doing it that way. But it might have a chance at making this a little cleaner, outside of the large bit of broken brick and blood that is currently on the entrance of this particular alleyway that is just across the street from the van, or from the limousine, I should say.
okay. Would rapid reflexes help with um moving a bit quicker to do this?
Most certainly. Most certainly.
Okay.
So, I'm going to take rapid reflexes into account. This is going to be a difficulty 4, though, because you need... And it's going to be... dexterity plus investigation. I'll explain why. It's a matter of speed and how thorough you are at covering up evidence. So I'll also allow larceny in place of investigation, but ultimately it has to do with evidence. This is going to be difficulty 4.
This card isn't helping. I don't have a dot in either, so it's just gonna be a straight dexterity.
Alright. Okay. You do have a single success. So, here are your options, Apex. You can choose to spend a willpower and hope to get at least 2 10s on the rolls you take. You can roll up to 3 dice right now, and there's a chance you might succeed. Or you can succeed at a cost. That cost is you are moving so fast that it's going to catch somebody's eye. Somebody's going to see somebody moving at speeds that people shouldn't move at.
Ow! I'm gonna take that cost just because
Okay.
I kind of need this body to be scooped up and not leave much more blood in this.
Okay. Alright. Apex. That bit of extra gear you wear, those extra layers for your own protection, hiding that bulletproof vest that you end up wearing underneath, comes off, and almost like a sieve, you scrape up the remains into it. Most of the body's hanging out, but at least the interiors aren't spilling out into chunks of flesh all over the place. Now it's just a ooze trickling. Hopefully you've managed to remove enough of the meat for somebody to think this is a heavy wound rather than a full-on murder. Then again, there's a lot of blood. So, that being said, you start moving into the alleyway. I am going to accept, because of the cost, I'm not going to ask you to roll a stealth. You've accepted the penalty on it. So you are trying to end up hiding, but you see something. You're not sure who. It's a black hoodie and a jaw drop. Whereas everybody else is looking at Adrian, you have no doubt that this person's looking at you. They saw what you did, how fast you moved. And now, you don't have time to deal with it. Running into the street, you end up going into the dark. Adrian, you are currently crumpled up in the middle of the street. You look pretty gnarly, my friend. After all, you just got hit full speed. Took a few bounces on the pavement and haven't moved. The crowd is starting to come out. What are you doing?
Well, my first thoughts are, ooh, that's smarts. But I don't move.
Playing dead?
I don't move. I just listen with my heightened senses to see what's going on with Apex.
Okay, I'm going to need you to roll me. This is going to be a composure awareness. You are trying to stay still, faking your dead body, while being able to end up observing what's going on, without letting your eyes twitch enough that people are aware you're still conscious.
Perfect. Let's see. Let's look at work. I'm gonna need you to roll that for me because my sheet's not cooperating with me on mobile.
Not a problem. I will do the rolls for you for the time being. Alright. So we're doing awareness plus composure. Three successes. You can re-roll up to 3 dice in your awareness right now if you wanted to push it. Or is 3 enough for you?
I think I'm gonna call it at 3.
Okay. Right. Or Adrian, you have a quick leer and you see that the crowd is coming out. Your eyes don't try not to twitch, but you do see it. There's a figure, their mouth agape as they end up looking across the street. They're not looking at you. They're in shock. A hand raises up, covering their mouth. They start pushing their way back into the crowd. They have an instinctive need to get away. You're not sure what they just saw. Your back is currently to Apex. But you can hear Apex. You can hear, very quick, that slight whoosh in the air. It's almost masked entirely by the crowd, murmuring and not sure what to do. A lot of scared people, a lot of confusion, but you can hear those boots whiz, hitting shallow pools, small splashes, and rock-solid concrete, which you are all too familiar with right now.
As I see this person, I want to make mental note of every piece of information that is relevant to identifying them. Their clothing style, their face, their just everything. So I can pick them out in a crowd again.
It'll be tough. Dark hoodie, the light is to their back from the club. They're little more than a silhouette. It's going to be tough. And that's based off of your previous roll. But you do know that at least somebody knows. which might be the important bit.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Maybe. But what are you going to do? Get up miraculously and chase them?
No, I can't do that.
I thought...
I look like shit. I'm sure of it. I'm just gonna stay right where I am.
It's about that time. Tegan, you end up coming out of the head club first, and when you do, you kind of push your way through the crowd, and you see Adrian currently crumpled like a heap in the center of the road. A lot of cars are backed up behind. Some are getting out. You think that the person who hit him is now getting out of the vehicle right now. Maybe they just shook off the shock of the fact that they just hit somebody.
God. All right. First things first, did anyone see anything weird?
Well, they just saw somebody get hit by a car, apparently.
Yes. All right, can I examine the scene, the scenario before me a little closer?
How so? Give me an idea of what you're looking for.
Consequentially, is Apex in the car still? Is he in the limo?
You don't know. Tinted glass windows. It's parked a little ways down the street. Like, not a lot, but it's about a quarter block away. You look. Roll me a wits plus awareness, but we're going to make this at a -2 for you to catch a very specific detail.
Oh, sorry. I rolled that wrong.
Don't worry about it. You can re-roll. Oh boy. Okay. Good news. You're not under a compulsion. But even with a reroll of 1, you will not make it. And even if you spent the reroll, you wouldn't have the option to win at a cost. So right now, you know about as much as everybody else here. Maybe we should be thankful for small favors right now.
Right.
If Apex is still in the limo, he hasn't gotten out. Probably spook a lot of people if he did.
Do I see anyone pulling out their phones?
You definitely see a few people.
I go up to them, just move through the crowd, stand behind them.
Okay.
I simply let my blood do the rest.
You're letting your blood do the rest. Ooh.
My bane, so to speak.
Well, interesting use. Definitely not one that's completely uncommon to one of your line. You know, they say that the soul is reflected to you in a mirror. Even electronic devices, you might say, are still a reflection of you. But when you've touched the void, oblivion, it's known to erode a part of you. It removes you. And Tegan, being that of Clanless Sombra, you might know that a little better than most. For you have a particular issue when it comes down to electronics and mirrors. Reflections, knowing what you look like, who you are, stripped away from you. Instead coming across as artifacting, out of focus, that you in some way don't resonate properly. If you don't know what you're looking for, you might brush this off as shoddy Apple products. Maybe your BlackBerry is going on the fritz. But if you know what you're looking for, well, there are some legends about vampires and no reflections, no soul. So what does that say about you, Tegan? That might be something to wonder. It doesn't take long. As Tegan, you're trying to put yourself into the line of sight, trying to block off a few cameras, trying to stop people from getting a good shot at Adrian's face. Vivian, Frank, you had come out afterwards. You see Tegan, who is currently pushing their way to the front of the line. It's
more than anything, I should note, more than anything, I'm not getting in view of the cameras, but more so just getting close enough for them to glitch out.
Let us double check your Bane. Let's double check that, because I think that is not quite how that works.
No?
But I'll be glad. I'm gonna make sure. Because thankfully, I keep my books right beside me at all times. La Sombra. I gotta love it when you're... There's a sacrifice, blood from stone. The Sombra, here we go. Bane. Anyone seeing the reflection or recording, live or otherwise, of a La Sombra vampire can instantly recognize them for what they are, providing they know what they're looking at. People with no prior knowledge will know something's wrong, but likely attribute the distortion to irregularities in the reflecting surface or recording errors. Note that this will not hide the identity of the vampire with any certainty. The La Sombra are no less likely to be caught on surveillance than any other vampire. In addition, use of modern technology, including him making a simple phone call, requires a technology test of difficulty 2+ Bane severity, as microphones have similar problems with the voice of the Sombra as cameras with their image. Avoiding electronic vampire detection systems is also done at penalty equal to Bane severity. So it is the footage and the noise you are directly responsible for making. It's not your proximity.
Well, people don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah, you can see a few people who are trying to do this over your shoulder, and you can see a few of them hit their phones like, come on, you stupid thing, you know, can you get out of my way? Trying to like raise their phone up above your head, and, some trying to move past you as you're trying to pretend you're just a curious onlooker and not a disruptive piece to this problem. But Vivian and Frank, you come into the picture, and you know what I've just described. Apex might be further in. I would like you both to roll separately, wits plus awareness. Frank, there isn't enough heightened sentence problems here. You might be able to use it if you so choose. But there is a chance that something might flare up.
That's okay. He's just gonna stay away from that for now.
Alright, those are
Still
fantastic
ringing
rolls.
in his ears.
Yeah, those are fantastic rolls. So, Vivian, Frank, you take one look, and it takes no time at all for you to identify exactly what the hell just got hit, more accurately who. Frank, your brother in blood.
Yeah,
Brood
Frank
mate.
yells, Adrian! And he dashes off to the body.
Vivian, you see Frank just dash right in. The other thing you spot, Frank apparently doesn't care, is that in the alley across, it's hard to make out, mostly in the dark, but you see cracked stone on one of the interior walls of the alleyway across. Blood. A lot of it. A lot of it is pooled at the bottom, and you almost see like it's been dragged deeper into the alleyway.
I'm gonna go check out the limo and knock on the driver's side window.
Okay. You knock, and there's no response. The door is locked.
Fuck.
Frank, you run up to Adrian. Adrian, you can see Frank, who is currently running with concern, calling your name. A lot of cameras currently on you right now as the drama begins to unfold. What a video this'll make.
I just want to make a note. Did you add heightened senses to my awareness roll?
No, I did not, but that might have to do with the fact that you are in the middle of the street with an engine just running you down. So, unless you call it, I'm not adding it.
Okay. I remain still. I'm not really giving Frank any indication that I'm conscious, because somebody else might pick up on that.
Trying to do the smart play.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, Adrian is a crumpled heap. There's a good portion of his face stripped off. You can see that a few fingers in his hands are broken. He landed hard. That nice outfit he wore to Elysium is torn. Bits of it scattered along the pavement, along with small tidbits of Adrian's flesh. And if you look real hard, you might see it already starting to turn to ash.
Frank's gonna kneel down and check the damage, I guess, on the body.
Adrian looks rough, but Frank, how experienced are you in vampire physiology as far as occult?
I've read stuff, I suppose, but whether it's written by the kindred or the kind.
Roll me a intelligence plus occult roll.
Okay. I'm really good at it. Be fine.
He's messed up. Like, if you don't get him into a hospital in the next 2 minutes, he will flatline. And that's the level of severity you think Adrian is under, because you are seeing broken bones, you're seeing stripped flesh, you're seeing torn ligaments. The amount of pain he would be in would be excruciating.
I think Frank's first instinct would probably be to ask someone to call for an ambulance, but he knows that vampires are not like humans, right? Broken bones don't necessarily mean much.
You're the one who said you were the expert. I'm just telling you what the dice are telling me.
Yeah.
Some vampires will be put into torpor with a good punch to the face. Others, you can see them stripped down to nothing more than a bones, and heartbeat, and a brain stem, and they'll still function. Really depends on the kindred, I guess, and the potency of their blood.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knows that much detail. But
Yeah,
I
and
think
that's
he's
kind of what
been
I'm going off of.
decisive for a couple minutes here on what to do. He
Well.
doesn't think well on his feet.
Well, there better be somebody else who does, because Apex, you are currently in the back of that alleyway. You're pretty sure that with all the lights and all the commotion up front, you're out of line of sight. At least from here, it's a lot easier. If they catch anything, you're nothing more than a silhouette with a wet bag.
Okay. With that happening, I'm going to try to stealthily go to the other exit.
So you're referring to going out the back of the alley?
Yeah. Or at least looking out to see how crowded it is.
I'm trying to get a better understanding of what you're going. So you are going deeper into the alleyway, away from the commotion. So you're
Yes.
trying to take a back lane approach, and then coming out the other side, maybe a block further down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where there's less commotion.
Are you still hanging on to the body?
I will be taking the body further deeper, yes.
Okay, because you've taken the body deeper, but then you're bringing it back out onto the street. Take a look. I'm just making you aware of the risks.
I'll probably set the body in the deepest part of the alleyway, then look out.
Okay.
So
All
the
right.
body isn't seen.
I'm gonna have you roll me a wits stealth. You need to find an appropriate place to ditch the body, at least for a short period of time. You can't afford the extra weight. You know it'll be found if police investigation happens here, but Apex, you end up finding a bunch of trash bags. Clearly garbage hasn't been, well, picked up in this location in a while. You're just behind a small building right now, and you dump it in. You can smell the flies and maggots inside. If only they did their job faster, this wouldn't be as much of a problem. Instead, you are stepping on damp concrete, no longer with blood, but old rainwater. That smell of wet garbage hits your nose as you're making your way through the back. This figure that you represent steps to the side. You don't think anybody sees you, not at first. The commotion's definitely looking elsewhere. You can see that there's a few people who are calling in it. A lot of people are recording with their phones. You, on the other hand, can end up looking about half a block right across the street. You can look at the window, or you can look at the limo. You can see Vivian, who is currently knocking on the glass.
If Apex isn't responding, I'd be looking around trying to find him. Would I be able to see him, or would that be another wits awareness roll?
This is more of a case of I'm trying to resync the timelines.
Okay.
So this is what Apex is doing just as you're trying to end up figuring out if he's in the car.
Right.
So we'll be getting to that in a moment. I'm giving the opportunity first to Apex. Is there anything you want to do?
I don't know if I can try to get Vivian's attention over here. Because I have the keys. I at least need to give them the keys so they can get everyone else out of here. Would there be a way I can try to get Vivian's attention from this app while getting everyone's attention over here?
There's several ways you could. How about we use intelligence plus academics? Alright, we're gonna go back to your old training.
Oh boy, this isn't gonna go well.
Come on, you got some basic training. This isn't anything new.
Nope.
Wow. Okay. You're on your own.
Okay. In that case, I think I can fairly stealth over there without getting spotted to the back of the Hummer to get Vivian.
There are some distractions, but there are also a lot of phones, so they kind of balance each other out. So I'm gonna just make this a flat roll. This is gonna be difficulty 3.
Okay.
It's gonna get a lot of attention to see a masked man suddenly end up ahead jumping across traffic. And thankfully it's been halted, but...
Man, this guy just disconnected me.
This is gonna be a stealth dex.
Okay. Just making sure. How bloody do I look right now?
You're pretty much caked in it. You've been carrying a basically hamburgered corpse. You were definitely in the splash zone when it happened. Well, the kids would say you look pretty sus.
Okay, dexterity might not be the best. Stealth might not be the best idea at this point. Then, actually, can I take one of my shells from my gun and toss it over to the
Sorry.
Hummer, trying to get?
Certainly. Make me a strength plus athletics.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be pinpoint accuracy. It just needs to get across the street. And last time, shells don't weigh too much. Well, that'll work. Vivian, you are about to look around to end up trying to figure out where the hell Apex could have gone to. And you feel something hit your leg. It rolls off your pants leg and starts to roll on the street, stops on the tire. Looks like a shotgun shell.
Okay, first of all, I pick that up and immediately tuck it into my pocket. And then
you can see Apex from where it pointed out. He clearly went to get your attention.
Okay, I start heading towards him, more and more concern growing on my face as I get closer to him and see the state he is in.
Okay. Apex, Vivian, he walks with purpose. He's got this stern look on his face. It's all business right now. Probably displeased with what's going on, but that's nothing you weren't prepared for.
Apex, excellent. Let's step back into the alley so I can ask what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. And I'll lead deeper into that. Deeper into that.
Apex, Vivian, you two go deeper into the alleyway. Vivian, you can smell it on him. That wonderful copper taste. That aroma. and it's getting thicker as you get back further in the alleyway, mixed in with the smell of wet garbage.
Am I to assume that crushed wall and giant bloodstain is your fucking handiwork?
My bees kind of got a little out of control, catching.
More than a little out of control, but we'll deal with that later. How the fuck did Adrian get hit by a car?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think he was trying to cross the street and he got hit. Should look both ways.
Okay. Gotta trust in Frank and Tegan to deal with that shit. Where's the body? Please tell me there is still a body.
There is. It's in the back there with the rest of the garbage bags hiding amongst.
Okay. Keys. Do you have the car keys?
Yes. And I'll take out the car keys and hand them. Oh, and when you get the chance, can you look on this?
You just cut out.
Apex, I'm pretty sure, was just asking you to investigate the phone. But we'll cut over to Tegan for now. Real quick. I think Tegan's been trying to run counter ops at this point, trying to cover up. Tegan, is there anything you need to end up doing right now? Because Frank and Adrian are in the middle of the street. Adrian's not moving. Frank seems to be in the brotherly panic. And, well, if you listen very carefully, you might just hear sirens in the far, far distance.
Okay. Alright. Quick plan. I go ahead and activate awe, and I call to the group, the surrounding crowd. Everyone, I'm a doctor. I need everyone to move aside for the ambulance in order for them to have space. If you could please vacate the vicinity, head back to the club or wherever, safest location.
Would you be able to roll me charisma plus persuasion plus presence?
Yes.
I'm going to modify the roll a little bit here.
Persuasion plus charisma plus presence.
So plus whatever dots and presence you have. Use that as the modifier.
Can I re-roll 3 dice?
Yes, you can. Spend a willpower. Oh, wow. Tegan, there's something in your blood. It's not just the commandment. It's something about being in control. Something dark inside. A shadow that moves on its own. There is something to your presence when you say this. You have only a handful under the actual sway of your gift. However, like lemmings, when they all came out together, quite a few are going in. A lot of them are realizing that they're going to get caught up in this. Many of them were trying to watch, but then there's others who might actually care about their fellow man. How touching. A good portion of the crowd disperse. Others are staying on the phone, only a handful with cameras. Maybe only about 15 or 20 people have come out, and now it's probably down to 6 or 7, which is a sight better if something were to go wrong. But now you've proclaimed yourself as a doctor, so what are you gonna do?
I look over to Frank, and I motion him to try and persuade the rest of the crowd to return Myself, I go up to Adrian and I kneel down to check on him really quickly.
Okay. How familiar are you with vampire physiology?
Not terribly, but I do know human physiology to some extent.
Okay. Roll me a. If we're talking in human terms, roll me a intelligence or wits plus medicine.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So, Tegan, you step in between Frank and Adrian, and you are trying to end up getting everybody to end up being on board. Whether Frank agrees or not is beyond the question, but you do take a look at Adrian. He does indeed have a few cracked ribs. One of them is actually puncturing his lung. You can see that his fingers are broken. You can see that there's definitely going to be some skin removed on the side of his face, stripped down to bone in some locations. He's not in good shape. Honestly, at this point, you'd look at him and if he was mortal, he would be in critical care. There would be no doubt. This man would be drowning in his own blood right now. But Adrian doesn't have to bleed. He doesn't have to breathe. As far as this goes, this is the vampire equivalent of a really nasty paper cut. Let that be worrying, though.
While I'm there, I whisper to him as quietly as I can. Adrian, I don't need you to answer right now, but I need you to pretend to stay dead. We're gonna get on Ned to the ambulance, and they're gonna pronounce you dead there. We'll get off, I promise.
Okay. Frank, what are you doing?
Frank is going to, I guess, try to disperse the crowd.
Well,
He'll
that's
walk
already
around.
been attempted. So, for you to do that, I'm going to need a charisma persuasion, but I need you to beat. Handedly. I need you to end up beating 6 successes.
Oh, that's probably not going to happen, but I can attempt it anyway.
Okay.
Wait a minute. How many successes? 6?
6.
I don't even have enough dice for that.
Crits happen.
Wait. No, I do. I have public speaking performance. This would count.
It's a performance roll, not a persuasion.
Yeah, performance. Public speaking is performance. Oh, wait, no. It's
Other way around.
No. Yeah, I don't have enough dice.
Okay. So, Frank, you're doing everything you can at this point. I'm not going to make you roll it, but you're definitely trying to end up doing so. At the very least, you might be able to keep a camera or two off of the situation. But, as you end up doing so, Tegan, you're trying to stabilize Adrian. Frank, you're trying to end up covering the best for your broodmate. Adrian, sometimes the worst part is the waiting. The not being able to do anything. And just hoping that it all works out.
I can be patient.
However, Vivian and Apex are a very different thing. Apex, you were asking about a phone for Vivian, correct?
Yes, I'll hand her the phone.
Are you also handing him the keys?
Yes.
Okay. Vivian, there is a phone and keys placed in your hand. You can still feel the blood slick across the chain and screen placed in your hands.
I will put the phone in an inside pocket. I will deal with that later.
Shame to ruin a perfectly good shirt.
I mean, better than anywhere else. I will just sort of say to Apex, just like, okay, just stay back here, stay quiet. We need to get you out of here before cops and who knows God what else show up. But right now, there's too many people out front. Does this alley have any other exits?
Yeah, you could probably get into this alley if you just drove a little ways down, cut into a side street, and be able to get into the back alley. It's just going to be a little tricky to maneuver.
I wouldn't even necessarily need to get into the alley. I just want to get sort of right alongside it so Apex could basically just immediately bundle himself and the body into the back.
Alright. You can definitely end up doing so. So what this is going to be, as weird as this may sound, is a manipulation drive. You need to make this look natural. You need to make sure that a vehicle is not suddenly turning around and causing a huge scene, detracting from the one that is currently happening up front.
Yep.
It's not high difficulty, not a lot of eyes on you. We're going to do this difficulty 2.
Okay.
You have it, Viv. You have it. Though you're getting the idea that this is a lot trickier than they make it out to be in the movies. Mostly has to do with how the vehicle handles and how wide you have to take turns. Your hands still a little sticky with the blood from the keys you put in the ignition. You end up driving it up. It doesn't take long before you end up pulling up and hit the unlock button. Apex, you got a body on your hands. I'm going to need you to roll me. I'm going to need you to end up rolling me a strength stealth. Trying to carry this body in without making a lot of ruckus. And you're going to need to get in the trunk. Or according to Viv anyway.
Okay. Just so this succeeds. Can I rouse the blood to up my...
You certainly can.
Okay.
You feel the blood filling your veins. It's almost like a fake heartbeat. A little bit of adrenaline. Oh, this feels good. You feel strong. And a little bit distracted. That's okay. You grab hold of this meat sack, what's left of him. You end up hoisting the body. You barely close the door. You already see the flashing of the lights on the interior of the trunk when you close. The lights of an ambulance. Vivian, you're in the driver's seat and you see it pass you, stopping right in front of you. You can see EMTs are coming out, stretchers, a few of them they're coming out and are asking what ended up happening. You can see that there's discussion that the police will be here any moment.
I pull the car away, like halfway down the block. I turn off the engine, I hop out, I go to the trunk, and I just say, wait here, I need to get the others. Just be patient.
I'm not.
Apex, you nod. Despite the fact you're in a trunk, it can't be seen. Though I'm pretty sure you give it a quick tap on the top. You hear a small bump if just to end up confirming that the order was heard and received. But
I start walking down the street back to the club to pick up whoever's left, basically.
fair enough. Adrian, Tegan, Frank, you end up seeing the ambulance starting to pull up. You have an opportunity to end up acting before it actually arrives.
All right. Really quick, amongst the crowd, is there anyone there specifically that seems to be either paying too much close attention or rather is expressing a lot more shock than usual?
Roll me a. We're gonna end up making this a wits empathy.
How do I roll empathy?
Yeah, insight.
Okay.
I keep mislabeling it based on what it used to be called.
Okay.
Tegan, you spot him from a mile away. It's clearly the person in the black hoodie that is currently running down the street. Where you told everybody to go inside, they seem to be wanting to get away from the premises as quick as possible. Black hoodie, tight jeans. You end up seeing, looks like they're wearing a couple of Nikes. You look around, just trying to double check. A lot of them seem to be mostly focused on the accident, which, is a start. But then you catch something else. You see somebody who's crying inside the club. They seem to be being held by somebody. They are in a sheer and utter panic. They're talking to somebody. Maybe a boyfriend. You're not really getting the details, obviously. You have other concerns, but you do notice, like, this. Everybody else was acting with amazement and shock. This person is in full-on panic.
She probably saw Adrian getting ran over.
Maybe.
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 Or maybe something else.
You get the impression this is a lot more, how should I put this, visceral. Adrian's roughed up, certainly, and it might be a little unnerving, but this person is in full-blown panic. You might even get the impression fearful of their life.
All right. I don't think I can catch up to the hoodie, but I call Frank over.
Frank?
Yes.
Tegan's calling you over. This more is getting your attention.
Yes, how can I help?
If it's all right, I need you to hold the ambulance as long as you can, really quick, if they happen to come by. I'm going to...
They are literally just pulling up, Tegan.
Damn it. All right. I'll be right back.
All right. What are you doing?
I run up to this woman, and
Okay, so you
speak
run
with
right
her.
into the club?
Yes.
Remember, this is happening inside the club. You're seeing this through the window.
Through the window?
Yeah.
All right. Damn. Okay, so... Yes. I run inside. I go and interact with the woman.
Okay.
Ask her, what's wrong, miss? What?
You see that there is an individual. Got medium length hair, brown. Looks like he's got a nice dress shirt where he ends up keeping it open right down to his navel, like he's trying to expose much of the barely developed chest. Maybe he just started working out, or maybe this is as good as he can get, trying to end up impressing somebody. She's crying in his arms as he's trying to end up calming her down. She is begging for him to call the cops. What she just watched, she's describing a masked man, and he just put somebody into a brick wall just across the street, and no one's believing her. They think she might be hysterical about the incident that just happened. She's pointing at the alley directly across the street, just past where Adrian is currently laid out. You can already see the EMTs are coming out, pulling up the stretcher. Seems to be getting ready to end up dealing with Adrian. And she says, no. He hit him once and put him halfway in. I watched his spine peel out of his back when he ended up coming off the wall. I saw the bricks break. I saw it.
Yes. Excuse me. My name is Dr. Teganmore. If you might, the ambulance are just about here. They're trying to pick up another injured individual, and I just need to get some questions across so that I can properly file a report. What did you see exactly?
Roll me a charisma or actually no, this would be manipulation subterfuge. Wow. She looks to you like you're the first person to actually believe her. There is something when she starts to describe in dreaded detail. She describes a man in a skull mask wearing black. She saw a commotion, a light caught her attention. She thinks it might have been a phone. Then they were fighting. The man punched this masked man, this big masked man, and the other man just grabbed him by the shoulders and slammed him into the wall over and over and over again, and blood was just splattering everywhere. Bones were breaking, chunks of the brick were falling out of the wall. It was in seconds he was a pulp.
God, that sounds awful. I look to both of them and I make sure I'm making eye contact. Are you sure you haven't forgotten any details?
Okay, remember you can only target one person at a time.
Then I'll target her.
Yeah, she kind of looks to you. And she just kind of goes limp. Like her body kind of just stops stressing immediately. There is nothing, no movement, almost like she's in a haze, like she's not really there.
I look around and pretend to examine her closely, and then I turn to her partner, her comrade in this moment, and I simply say, in all honesty, I'm thinking she might have taken something she shouldn't have. You should see this woman home. She has every definition of drugs. Like, her eyes are glazed.
She just got here. She literally just got here. She's in a complete panic. She wanted to get in and even get safe.
Are you sure? Are you sure she didn't have anything to drink before then?
No, she never pre-games. Look, Jane, she's just... Hell, it took me all week just to get her to end up taking a night off from studying. Now she's... Jane, are you okay? Are you okay, Jane? He starts to shake her like something's changed. He's not sure what to make of this.
Sir, I need you to look me in the eyes.
What? He looks up at you.
You're going to take her home, and the both of you are going to spend the night, go to sleep simply. This is not going to bother you anymore. And I'd like to use mesmerize with that.
I'm going to need you to roll a rouse check, but I will not end up making a compel. Or, pardon, I'll make a rouse check, but I won't make you make the roll itself. Tegan, there's a part of you that just... There's... You know, it'd be so easy to follow him home. It really would be. I'd just follow him home and drain him. Dump him in a tub. Suicide pact. No one would know. Just two lovers who couldn't take it anymore. Make for quite a Romeo and Juliet story in the headlines. No one would know that the blood didn't go down the tub. You can make it look beautiful if you wanted to. And it'd be...
Don't get me wrong. That would be the easy... Death is inevitable, but that would not be the easy path right now.
Send one more to the void. 2 more, 3 more, 4 more, 5 more.
Right now, I need to make sure I'm not being sent to the void.
You'll be... It's your time soon. You know it. This'll get out. This'll get out and you're all fucked. Make peace with it.
I decide I'm going to return to Adrian.
Okay.
As quick as I can, get back to the responders. Tell them I'm going to see with them to the hospital.
Well, let's see what's happening with Adrian and Frank. Adrian, Frank, is there anything you two are doing while the ambulance attendees are coming out with the gurney?
Frank is probably just insisting that he be allowed to ride. Seeing as this is his brother, says that.
Yeah, they took one look at you and they could see the family resemblance.
Yeah.
But when they end up reaching towards Adrian, is there anything you're doing right now, or are you just playing the part of an unconscious or potentially dead man?
I am playing the part of a potentially dead man.
Okay. They reach for a pulse. Adrian, remind me, have you used Blush of Life tonight?
I did, but having been hit, I may have switched it off.
Yeah, you definitely can. So they shake their head. They're trying to end up bringing you into the ambulance. Frank, they're starting to reach for you. They're trying to get you to come in. Tegan, you end up seeing the 2 ambulance attendees just starting to bring the gurney into the back of the ambulance with Frank at this point. Vivian, you end up seeing the same when you end up coming up the street. You can see Tegan just coming out of the air. You can see Frank and Adrian getting into the back of the ambulance.
I call out to them and I loudly proclaim, I'm a doctor. I'll be coming. And I make my way over to the ambulance as fast as I can.
Okay. Yeah, there's a good chance they might be even aware of who you are. So you start to make your way. It's definitely a full ride right now with the 2 attendees, the person in the front who is the actual driver. You end up seeing Adrian on a gurney. Tegan, you get in the back. Frank, you get in the back. You 3 are currently in the back of this ambulance. Vivian, you hear the proclamation from Tegan. Apex. It's loud enough that even you can hear a muffled version of it in the trunk. What are you doing, Vivian?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. If I am close enough, I can go up to Frank and just say, let Tegan go. We can follow in the car, but we need to pick up Al.
Frank, your choice. The ambulance attendees don't have a lot of time. They're already ready to close the door.
Oh no, yeah. Frank just gives Vivian a look and climbs in the back of the ambulance.
Looks like I got your answer, Vivian. Now, Vivian, I gotta double check something here. Because it might be relevant. Okay. You're okay for now. Alright. Vivian, the ambulance door closes. The sirens can be heard. And the ambulance starts to make its way to the hospital, leaving you in the middle of the street with a bunch of curious onlookers. Alone.
I turn around and I head back in the club to find Al.
Okay. It doesn't take much. Al is currently sitting in a booth. He seems to be laughing it up with a pair of college girls. Well, more accurately, one of them is laughing. The other one seems to be kind of resting their head. He seems to be making polite conversation with her when he ends up seeing you. And he looks you over real quick. Ladies, well, Jen, please take Nicole home, okay? You really don't need to be drinking with the banter weights. Come on. You got your big girl, Penny. She's still coming out, you know? Country girls love to end up thinking that they always have all the hip and the gusto to be able to go all night, but what do you know? A few strawberry daiquiris and she's down. Well, you two have a fantastic night. And I hope to end up seeing you again. I look forward to running into you while I'm in town. Yeah. He gives them a two-finger salute off the cuff and starts to walk towards you. He looks you up and down real quick, and he seems to be reaching for something in his breast pocket.
Sorry to interrupt your fun, but I believe we need to go.
He pulls out a handkerchief and grabs hold of your hand immediately and presses it to it. You can feel the cloth rubbing with a bit of harshness to it. No. It's quite all right. It's quite all right. I kept you delayed way too long. I have kind of lost myself in the moment there. He grabs hold of he pulls his hands away and reaches for your other hand. He's with the hand that still has the napkin on for the cloth, and grabs hold of it and starts to lead you out, starting to speak softly. So I'm guessing it just got a lot more complicated.
Yes, but we managed to solve it. There is no direct threat right now. We will be meeting up with Apex around the corner, and the rest of the coterie will be meeting us back at Elysium once they have resolved the final loose threads.
He turns around and raises your hand to your face, the one that he has in his grip, and you can see the red napkin or red cloth he uses as a corner piece for his black shirt, and looks at it for a second, then looks to you. I'm sure it's going to be a very entertaining story, Vivian. I look forward to it. He lets go, leaving this napkin in your hands. The one that you see is currently stained with blood from your hands.
I just sigh, tuck that into another pocket of the already ruined jacket, and follow him outside, just double checking my hands covertly to make sure the worst of it is gone.
He starts to end up walking towards down the street. You follow behind. It doesn't take long for the both to end up reaching the van. You can see that he kind of sniffs the air a bit. There's something cold in those eyes as he starts to look around, observing. Looks up and down beforehand. And he looks to you expectantly as he stands at the rear door of the limousine.
I get out the keys, pop the door for him, and say, from what I understand, Apex got his cold one. There is currently a crate in the boot.
How entertaining. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Remington. He gets in and relaxes, even kind of reclines in his seat. Just like has the door closed behind him. And seems to relax a lot more now.
As I go round to the driver's side, I make sure to go via the boot, and I just say to Apex, enjoy the ride back to Elysium. And I just leave him in there.
This makes for a very interesting dynamic, with Viv, Apex, and Al in one vehicle, Adrian, Frank, and Tegan in another.
I begin to drive back to Elysium.
You're going to go right there.
I don't know where the ambulance would have gone. I don't know what route it would have taken. I don't necessarily even know what Tegan's plan is.
That's perfectly acceptable. I just wanted to be clear. Okay. So let's jump over to what is happening. Okay, so at this point, you see the EMTs are currently doing everything they can to resuscitate Adrian. Adrian, right now, they have started to clip through your shirt, and it looks like they're getting ready to use the paddles. You are about to experience a wonderful degree of electroshock therapy, and given the fact that you are basically kindling, that might be a problem.
Yeah. What am I doing?
You could just end up tearing their heads off. I mean, it's not like you're going to have a lot of outside witnesses. How fast do you think that Tegan and Frank can get to the wheel? Come on. You're buddies, right? You can whip out some throats, let it cut loose, get a little bit of payback, maybe. I mean, hell, if the license plate is embedded in your forehead, you might as well be able to use it later. And right now, there is some juicy EMTs, some PhD level shit going on in those veins. Come on, Adrian.
Dr. Demetrios, didn't you say your brother had some sort of medical condition that made it so he couldn't use certain equipment? Like defibrillators couldn't be used on him. Some sort of metal plating, or?
Right. He's had an injury on the police force.
I'll allow Frank or Tegan to make the roll at a +1. But given the fact that Adrian doesn't wear a bracelet for such things, we're going to need to end up saying the difficulty is going to be 4. This is going to be a manipulation plus subterfuge.
Well, I have higher manipulation. Should I go for it?
Oh yeah, Frank is totally like sweating. Well, not really sweating. Metaphoric.
Did you say +1 or -1?
+1, you have one person corroborating the story. Ooh, nice.
That's a crit.
Oh yeah. So immediately after they got the goo on Adria's chest, God, it is so freaking cold. You see that the gentleman is about to prime the paddles before he stops, and you see him start to place his hands. He is trying to physically resuscitate without the use of paddles right now. There is clearly a bit of panic going on. The ambulance is making so much racket. You feel it shift side to side as it's trying to end up weaving its way through the streets of Detroit.
Is there only one person or 2 people in the back here?
There's 2 people in the back, 1 in the front. 2 people to operate the gurney and stabilize, while the other one does the driving.
All right. Is the driver closed off from the rest of us?
No. You can end up physically walking to sit in the passenger side or get in the back.
Damn. All right. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to have to think of something quick. I go ahead and tap Adrian's wrist while it's hanging down on the side of it. Try and give him an indication to pretend alive again. Not sure whether or not the message gets across, but...
Adrian, would you be able to roll me a wits plus insight?
Got it.
And this is going to be -1 because you have no verbal communication to work off of right now.
All right, let's see.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Adrian, you get it loud and clear. Like, you should be resuscitated right now.
Then I'm going to rouse for Blush of Life, and I am going to take a very deep breath to come back to life.
Okay. If that's the case, I need you to roll me a manipulation plus performance.
Oh, snap. This is going to go badly.
Okay. I'm willing to give you a chance here. A success at a cost.
Okay.
The cost is that somebody else knows about this ambulance ride other than the individuals in the ambulance. Someone of significance.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Rouse so that I can come back to life.
Hey, at least you're not getting hungrier.
No.
Adrian, you've seen enough episodes of Dr. House. You think you know on how sudden, you remember that scene with the adrenaline shot to the heart? It probably works something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tegan, this is a little bit face-palmy for you. This is not how it typically works, but he is acting as though he just got a massive shot of adrenaline directly to the heart as he kind of kickstarts up. You see his body flailing against the restraints that stop him from rolling off of the gurney. Freaks the hell out of the EMTs.
Oh, thank God. You're okay. You're okay.
What happened?
Doctor, this man is far from okay? I am currently looking at his cheekbone right now. If we do not get him to a hospital, he is going to suffocate in his own blood, and it's going to get worse.
Right. Think about this.
Come on, Tegan.
Uh,
Frank, you got an idea?
Frank is just going to hug Adrian to stop him from flailing around, I guess, too much.
Sir, you can't do that. You're going to crush a windpipe or something. Come on, sir. Let's do our job.
He's my brother.
Sir, I understand that. You can see this EMT's trying to pull you off of him. The other one is trying to now reach to do the same. Tegan? Adrian? Is there anything you're doing?
I am pretending to be in pain.
You don't need to be pretending too much. Trust me, you're in pain.
No, this hurts. It hurts, but I'm selling it like it's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of shooting a glance a little bit at Tegan.
all right, I'm gonna have to do this one at a time.
Okay.
I look to one of the EMTs and I say, let's not forget about any additional information here.
He just kind of stops in his track.
And then
Go ahead.
I quickly look to the other. We need to, most importantly, not forget about any medical discrepancies going on here.
Both of them just go into a daze. It's only going to last about 30 seconds, but you have an opportunity. You've caught both their attentions. Both of them are out on their feet.
All right. And then finally, I look to the driver and
The driver is focused on the road.
Ah, damn it. All right.
It's okay. It's Tegan, just as a point. Are you wanting for the driver to forget what he's doing while he's driving an ambulance at high speeds?
Probably not.
Okay.
Instead, I push myself to the front and I look over to the driver. I get his attention and I use mesmerize again.
Okay. How are you using it?
I'm going to request him to take us to a different hospital of my choosing.
Okay. Alright, Tegan. How are you going to deal with the other two when they finally come out of it and have no idea why they have somebody on a gurney, or why they have two bearded men in the back, or why they have unknown person in the front? Do you have a plan for that?
Oh God, I don't have a plan for any of this right now. All right.
It's okay, Lasombra. You learn the hard way. Sometimes there's on-the-job training, and this is one of them.
Suppose so.
Okay. You rolled the rouse, so this person is willing to take wherever you go. Or wherever you want them to go.
Let me go ahead and do that.
Okay.
What a fucking night.
Tegan, if I recall, that puts you at 3 hunger right now, does it not?
I believe so.
Okay. I'll make a note. Alright. So, you feel this need, Tegan. You can smell what's left of Adrian's blood still on the wind. It's Vite. It's sweet. You got 3 little morsels and an ambulance you can take anywhere. Anywhere, Tegan. Come on, Miss Moore. Why are you depraving yourself? Existence is fleeting after all. You might as well enjoy it while you're still here. After all, nobody knows finality better than the La Sombra.
I tell him to take the vehicle to what hospitals are there?
I'd have to end up researching it a little bit further. Is there a particular one that you were working at, or a particular one that you have better influence on, or give me an idea what you're trying to do.
I tell him to turn off the sirens and take us to the Henry Kingsford Hospital.
Mhm.
And now I'm going to twist a tale about how we were running a quick practice scenario.
Okay.
If that's the case, I'm gonna. If Tegan is saying that, I'm going to rouse and heal.
Okay. Frank,
Too superficial.
is there anything you're doing?
Just standing by and taking note of what's going on.
Okay.
I was ready to push them out the door, but it seems like my companions are in control.
How cruel. Tegan, what are you going to do when the other two, because you got about 10 seconds left before they come back up. You could try and use the mesmerize on all of them, have them working as a group, but you got to remember now remember, mesmerize, your level 2 only it makes them be able to follow complex commands. It doesn't mean that they're doing it of their own volition. Their bodies are just acting accordingly.
All right.
They're prisoners behind their own eyes.
Okay. Change of plans. I'm just going to ask the man to pull us over, turn off the ambulance,
Alright.
and then we're going to leave.
Okay. Tegan, you know you're smart enough to know to avoid the dash cam.
Yep. I just stay on the side of the vehicle in the blind spot. I get the driver's attention, have him look at me again, and I'm going to cloud his memory.
Okay. Doesn't take much.
Are there any blood bags in this ambulance?
Good question. Not something normally done. Since I personally don't know EMT practice that well, I'm gonna have to assume no. Given the fact that that kind of stuff is desperately needed in hospitals, you really don't want it sitting in an ambulance.
Fair enough. Then if that's the case, then we're just gonna leave.
Alright. Adrian, Frank, Tegan, you find yourselves currently inside or out and about in Detroit. You're out in no man's land right now. You're expected to be delivering Al back to Elysium. And here you are in the middle of nowhere, getting out of an ambulance you had no part in being. Adrian, you're still a little messed up, but at least you're healing a bit. At least you just look a little battered and bruised as opposed to missing 3/4 of your skin on the face.
Well, I'm actually fully healed.
Ooh, you rolled the whole thing. Well done. I hope that didn't make you too hungry. Exerting yourself so is taxing.
was getting away with that so well tonight.
Yeah, imagine so. And now we have a divided group. One dumped off in the middle of nowhere out of an ambulance. Another with a body in a trunk. And a VIP heading toward Elysium. Things are just getting interesting, aren't they? With the chance of a witness to a potential masquerade breach. Breaking of concrete. Blood upon the walls and the gutters. And right now, inside of a large shirt, the remains of organs, of a body that has been pulped to the loss of just a little bit of control. Tonight's a reminder of how much it takes to exist in this world of darkness. Why control is all there is, because all it takes is for it to slip once. And all kinds of people can die. We'll be back after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Detroit by Night Overhaul, Episode 2, Cleanup Crew. Now, right now, after an enthralling evening at a club that has resulted in the body being in a trunk, laying there with Apex, the masked military member of the Coterie, that is the Night Watch. Vivian is currently driving the limousine. Feels good, as weird as it sounds. There's something relaxing, hypnotic even, with the lights crossing overhead. You can still see that the roads are slick with earlier tonight's rainfall. There's something cleansing about it. And it would be even more relaxing if it wasn't for the individual in the back of the limousine. A guest. The prince's guest. The VIP that you and your coterie were asked to pick up. There was a lot of complications along the way that has separated the coterie. And now, Vivian, you are left with a moment. It takes a second before you hear the buzzing of the window starting to roll down between those in the back and the driver. You look in your rearview mirror and you don't see anything. But you know Al is sitting back there, probably much in the same way he was sitting when he was speaking with Apex. There's something contemplative in his voice when he speaks. So, I would have to assume that things didn't go according to plan.
As far as I can tell, no, there was an incident. My coterie and I moved in to clean it up, which we were successful in doing.
And yet I'm hearing fear. You're unsure of yourself.
I mean, that's just me. I'm kind of new to all this, and this stuff is still kind of over my head. I was a student. I was studying law, and then when suddenly you're dealing with the stuff on the other side, well, I made a promise with myself a long time ago to get away from that side of things.
Yeah. I imagine it's kind of hard. You know, I think you reminded me of me back quite a few years. I had a individual I was close to. Haven't seen him in half a decade. Big brother. Used to clean up a lot of messes. Mistakes would happen and they would call him in. I have to ask though, were you hoping to hide everything from me? Or were you just focused on the job?
I was focused on the jobs, plural. One of our directives was to keep you safe, keep you happy, and the other one, of course, is that oldest and most important tradition of keeping the masquerade.
There's a long silence. You're not sure what to end up thinking. It's hard when you're speaking to somebody you can't see. Takes a moment. They'll use it against you, you know.
Use what?
This.
If it wasn't this, it would be something else.
True. But this you at least know about. What do you want? What do you want, Mr. Remington? Not what the court wants. What do you want?
I take it you heard about what happened in this city last year? The Troubles?
I think one way or another, most of the nation knows about it.
Yeah.
The truth
I
is so much more elusive.
only know my lived truth. I was Kine at the time. I was on the ground, leading groups, leading protests. I wanted change. I wanted it to change for the better. I was tired of the oppression, the neglect. I wanted to, for the longest time, stop that ever happening again. And then, when I entered this life, I found out that it was all just part of a larger game. And in some ways, my goals haven't changed. I don't want that situation to ever be allowed to happen again. And part of that is, I believe, we have to change, we have to adapt. From what I understand, the Camarilla is changing, but whether it's doing fast enough, whether it's doing it in the right way, I cannot say. I do not know enough yet.
It is changing. A lot of people don't like it, but it is. But not for the reasons that people think. They think it's a change of ideologies, perspectives. No. It's the same. What changed is who's in charge of what. The positions stay the same. The people in those positions don't. Policy is built out of necessity. I think, well, you're gonna think of me as an old fuddy-duddy for saying this, but tradition isn't something that is just a rule. It's a proven methodology. A lot of people don't take it to heart. But the reality is that we exist in a time where little things can be picked up now. We have to make a choice on how we exist. what was happening before wasn't working. This city became a war zone long before the Camarilla arrived. Anarchs were at each other's throats and just needed an excuse. And I feel bad for them. I really do. Though if you ever told anybody I said that, I'd deny it.
Good thing I won't tell anyone then.
Counting on it. But I feel bad for them. See, it was a time when, even if they didn't agree, we could get them to at least agree that the traditions mattered. That there was a reason for the way we do things. It's a methodology that has been tried and proven time and time again. And I think what happened is so many people have been focused on the rules, they stopped understanding what the rules actually do. They say they protect us, but they don't understand how. They rile against it because it's so restrictive. Because all the young ones really don't have the memory. See, I was lucky enough to have a sire and a primogen who told me about the times before. Did you know that we were, as a species, to use a term, wiped out almost down to maybe 1,000 in the world? Just 1,000 kindred in the entire world. Populated by billions. We were almost genocided off the planet.
I have been told of vague details of why the traditions were founded by my sire, but there has been so much to cover that I'm not familiar with that time.
The Banu Hakim have a very different viewpoint on things. It's a valid one that we might be able to use. But first and foremost, the original 7 of the Camarilla remember. Problem is that a lot of rabble, no offense, big man, a lot of the rabble tend to have the existence of fruit flies. They do a lot of more embracing and just see what sticks. And a lot drop off, so memory's not as good in that clan. Though they do tell their stories. Gangrel, well, it's kind of the same way Toreador do it to a certain point. They keep telling the story one to another. Toreador try and compete for who can tell the best version of the story, who can add the most flair to it. Gangrel try and end up making it sound like, well, almost spiritual. Gangrel historians have always fascinated me. But for you, well, I can only imagine.
It is... I am not unaware of my position as a fledgling in the Camarilla of my clan, one of the first. I am not unaware of some of the old views of my clan. I am not an executioner, I am a scholar. I want to help people. I want to guide them within our laws so that the judges of my clan are never needed. That may be foolish.
Give me a few nights to set up shop. Then come find me. I can tell you a little bit. The way I was taught. And hopefully, your sire has done the same. I think, Vivian, you have potential. But right now, you're not sure of your own footing. Which is fine. No one is when they first start. It takes a few years for it to really sink in. Head to Elysium. I want to get this bullshit over with too. You hear the whirring of the glass starting to raise.
I keep driving to Elysium.
Apex, would you be able to roll me a resolve plus awareness at a -1?
Okay.
Apex, you catch a few murmurs. You think that Al's talking with Vivian. You have to assume Vivian's driving. It's not until you feel a little bit of a shift at your back. You think Al might have shifted positions in the limousine. And you just hear 2 bangs above your head. Like he's just bumping the side of the seat. You're pretty sure it's Al. Maybe the intent is to double check or let you know that you're okay. Or maybe it's a threat. Hard to say. But you're in the body. Or you're in the boot with a body.
I'll return the knock in kind. Just say, I'm still back here. Still doing good.
You may never know what the response is from the VIP. But maybe there's something calming about that. We're gonna shift back. Tegan, Adrian, Frank, you 3 are currently, well, flagging down a cab. And a chance to kind of catch up without the stress of a VIP. Without the need for pretense. You're alone on the street, just waiting for a cab to roll up.
What a night.
You can
Are
say
you
that
all...
again.
Yeah. Adrian,
Mm.
are you all right? Do you need any actual care right now?
I should be fine physically, but kind of peckish. I was hoping that there would be something on board that ambulance, but apparently that's not something that they keep, so... Well... What about you two?
I think it would be wise to Elysium. At least to meet up with Vivian and Apex.
They're gonna wonder why we didn't show up.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here with cinching my eyebrow ridge out of frustration with my fingers just pressing into them. Right. Well, from what I was able to gather, I think our masked friend, happened to make a surprising event occur. I gathered that from a very hysterical woman.
Oh no.
It's all right.
Well,
I was able to.
I've
was
seen
able
a
to
couple of people actually stand agape at things.
Wonder if we can ask the prince what
Ask the prince what?
to switch a member of our Coterie.
You're cutting in and out. I'm sorry.
You might want to speak up.
Yeah, I thought I was doing better. So Frank says, I wonder if the prince will let us switch a member of Coterie.
I doubt that.
You know, the prince did declare that as a coterie, we're all kind of in this together, if I read the room right. And well, at least we're standing right now. That's a plus.
Yes, well, it's thanks to the good doctor over here that
Some good
we all
quick
made it
thinking.
out.
Adrian. I should mention, I think someone else also saw this evening.
I am fairly certain they did. Actually, someone in a black hoodie.
Yes, I saw that person, an individual of similar description, running away from the scene.
You didn't get their face, did you?
I'm afraid not. They were turned away from me.
Fuck balls. Alright.
We'll have to make some investigations on our own time, but for now, this stays just within the coterie.
You're sure about that?
Frank looks very uncomfortable.
We keep this under wraps and do our own investigation? Is that what you're suggesting?
Preferably. I mean, as it stands, chances are the court already knows quite a bit about our activities this evening, and will inevitably know if Vivian and Al are returning to Elysium. Heavens.
That was the point, to get Al to there. So I suppose we should get there as quickly as possible.
Yes. I should mention, I am glad that you're here, Adrian. Frank,
Yeah.
Dr. Demetrios. Professor.
You can call me Frank.
I'm afraid I don't know you too well to have the same.
Well, if we are supposed to be responsible for each other, then perhaps we should become more familiar with each other.
Certainly. Well, journey. Back to the depths.
It's about that
Right.
time you end up seeing a pair of headlights come around the corner. The tires spinning in the waters. Small splash as the puddle ends up splashing against the curbside. Eventually, the doors are unlocked. Each of you gets in. Maybe you're speaking in code, or maybe you speak in silence. Either way, it's a very long trip. Going back into the jaws of Elysium. A chance to prove your worth. Or maybe a chance to fall from great heights. Either way, it would be a pity. We zoom out. Back to Elysium. You do not see your sires. Nor do you see Ink and Michelle. The first to arrive is Vivian. Apex, you're staying hidden out of the view. No sense rocking the boat any further than you already have. There is, however, the familiar faces. Ones that you have sworn fealty to. The ones that represent order in this city. And impatience. Clearly upon the Sheriff Mantle's face, that trim beard and black tie. A look of amusement on Veronica Telly's face, the blonde woman who dresses in elegance, keeps her hair pinned, and yet her face marred with horrible scars, her chest with the signature V to show that she's been filleted like a fish at some point in her existence.
Just a quick note. I would have left the phone in the limo for now.
It is duly noted. There is also, currently at the court's head, you are at the right-hand side of the individual in question. There is, however, a new individual. You haven't seen her before, but she sits in the corner, watching. There's no audience here. Perhaps they were dismissed by the prince to greet the newest guest. The ceremony continues. When you've arrived, Prince Lagon had given his thanks to Al for coming such a long distance, wished him a pleasant trip and hoped that he arrived safely and was greeted with warm welcome and tidings. Telly seems to try and warm up to him. Maybe he does to her as well, or maybe these are just formalities of court. Respectful glance and nod as Al is almost at attention when addressing the sheriff. You see that his methodology jumps depending on who he is speaking with. But when addressing the prince ends up asking if there were any further complications. You see Al looks at the prince, smiles and gives a nod, looks around. None that would be troublesome to the court in general. The neonates sent to end up occupying my time were pleasant and accommodating, even entertaining to an extent. Though I was expecting someone of more import, I can understand that you're busier, especially with such a new domain coming in the rise. I look forward and am honored to serve it, my prince. You can see Lagone raises his hand to his chin, kind of rests it there looking at this man. Occasionally his eyes shift to you, Vivian. Then he shifts back to Al. Al of New Sarum, child of Gideon. I welcome you to the city. Let it be known that you are accepted into the good graces of the court of Detroit. Let it be known that you are now of this city and this princedom. That you may serve with the distinguished honor that comes from your lineage, and be true to being the child of Gideon. Accommodations has been made for you in your time to stay, and I hope that our relationship will be a long and fruitful one. Nevertheless, I would expect you to keep your movements limited to Elysium and the domain of which you have been set for the time being. When you are requested, you will arrive, and until then, make yourself at home in the domain that has been given to you. I have no doubt you will make it work. After all, you've always proven yourself resourceful in your own city. I would expect no less from someone with your particular lineage. You honor me, my prince. I look forward to the opportunity. Very well. Make preparations. Speak with the Lady Rochelle. She will end up accommodating you. Take a moment. Take a, what's the term, breather. Allow me to finish up business with the individuals who were responsible for taking you in. And we will discuss business at a later point in time. Of course, my prince. Honor be to Prince Lagone of Detroit, first of his name. May he be ever worth the office of prestige that has been placed upon him. by rite of praxis. You can see Prince Lagon is not amused at this when Al takes a solemn bow and a step back, turns to the side, and starts to walk. It's at this point the others can hear the words as they enter the room. Al moves to the woman who is at the side, and Adrian, Frank, and Tegan, you end up entering the room, perhaps after getting past security, just in time to be able to end up seeing the prince gesture towards Vivian to come and express the evening's events. Do you three leave your coterie member out on their own, or do you stand by their side and perhaps step out of turn?
Frank will stand by Vivian.
Besides, I'm gonna go stand over by Apex.
To be clear, Apex isn't in the room.
He's in the trunk.
He's
Okay.
still hiding in the trunk, probably for obvious reasons.
Not paying attention.
Aw.
I'll stand by Vivian.
Ouch. Adrian? Are you also following suit, or are you going to be the one who doesn't presume?
He's muted. Oh.
Coffee, if you're speaking, I can barely hear you.
Oh yeah, some kind of feedback.
Mic check? Barely.
You are very distorted, Coffee.
I hear your internet. Okay. Coffee, would you be able to just type in the neonates domain if you are stepping up with the rest or if you're staying behind? I will presume that means you are joining your coterie. Vivian, unexpectedly, without prompt, your coterie seems to march up right behind you, as though they themselves were summoned by the prince. And
I'm gonna hide the grimace from my face, and I am just gonna say, yes, my prince.
The Malkavian, Al, has made it known that you've managed to make the evening entertaining. Please, would you be kind enough to elaborate on the hospitality you have provided him in showing our domain?
Of course, my prince. Once we had been gifted the use of a vehicle so kindly by Miss Telly, we were able to escort Al through the city, and at his request, we took him to have a drink at the club Asylum.
And
No, Annex, sorry.
That's okay. I'm pretty sure Vivian wouldn't have got that wrong, but that would have been huge.
Even as I left, like, no, wait, the other one. um, while we were there, we were able to make sure Al was entertained, and though my coterie had to deal with a slight distraction, nonetheless we were able to then return Al safely to Elysium.
A distraction, you say? What was so important that it would pull you away from a delegate from another city?
I believe that there was a slight incident that we needed to investigate based out of concern that it may have been Anarch related.
Very well then.
My coterie member Adrian could comment more. He was the one who spotted the fact we were being watched.
Sheriff Mantle, I would end up trusting that you will take this matter and end up getting further reports from the Coterie at large. I noticed one of your number missing. Perhaps he's one of the few with the common sense to not suddenly barge in. I'm glad to see he's improving in his station.
He is doing his self-described job as the driver and staying with the vehicle for this time.
Excellent. Well, we can be thankful for small things. The decree has been given and acted upon. The guest to our illustrious city, Al, has been received and has been given a small tour to the glory that is our city. I'm appreciative of that. As such, you have proven to at least be competent. That competency is what I demand from all kindred. Because we are kindred, let it not be forgotten. We are brothers and sisters. Mothers, fathers, sons and daughters. By blood we are bound, and in service to tradition, long before any in this room found their first chance at embrace. That which binds us makes us strong, and in doing so, we strengthen one another. You have given your first task, small as it may be now. You will look back at this night and find that it is a summation of a greater whole. In service, we find greatness and humility. Is there anything any of you have to say before the court? Before leaving this evening, I do tire.
I don't believe so, my prince. Thank you for this gracious opportunity.
The gratitude of the La Sombra is noted and appreciated in this court. May you ever serve as a great example, much as our esteemed sheriff, of the strength and precision that is expected of Clan La Sombra. And to you all, I wish you a good night. Spend your time wisely. You will be called again to service soon. Enjoy the evening, for you will have many, many more, should you continue in service. And let it not be said, I am an ungrateful prince. Even the smallest of their, well, services may sometimes yield reward.
We are honored, your prince, and humbly await your next decree for us.
Vivian, would you be able to roll me a charisma plus performance at a +3? You're rolling for the entire coterie, but since you were kind of anointed the figurehead before they suddenly barged in behind you, it's going to be dependent on you.
Performance or etiquette?
I would accept either.
So charisma plus etiquette.
And a +3. You're looking for 5 successes or more. Wow. Okay. He leans to Telly and speaks to her. And she kind of looks a little nervous, like, are you sure? And he gives a stern look, like as if how dare you question me? Very well, your prince. I will make a note of it as well. Sheriff, attire this evening. I shall retire, and I wish to end up having your report done by the end of the evening. At this point, Sheriff Mantle nods. Well, of course, my prince. And he walks alongside Prince Lugon as they leave the room. Al seems to be engrossed with Rochelle, the individual who is in a very unusual outfit, as they seem to be speaking. Telly, the harpy, the one with the Glasgow smile and the autopsy scars, starts to walk towards you all and asks for you to all kind of huddle around, as she doesn't intend to raise her voice.
I do.
Yeah, I huddle.
On an official capacity, I am to say that you are, as a whole, as a coterie, granted a trivial boon from the prince himself. He was impressed with your etiquette and forthcoming, including the complications, and has decided not to pursue matters involving the incident further, save for if the sheriff deems it necessary. Let's just say that he's trying to use the carrot rather than the stick. I hope that you all will appreciate that and be able to end up not disappointing him. Otherwise, we go back to the stick.
It's an honor among honors.
It is. It is recognition of a prince. And more importantly, that ends up meaning that he is accepted. You are no longer on probation. You must have impressed him greatly with your performance, Mr. Remington.
I am honored and flattered.
She steps up to you. You can see as her mouth opens that it's clear that the scars haven't completely healed, because you can see the muscle tearing at the corners of her mouth when she speaks with almost venomous vitriol between her teeth, trying to smile. Don't let it go to your head. You all still are on thin ice. You just happen to catch a cold day. Now, don't be strangers. I want to end up hearing all about your little adventures. And if you end up hearing anything good, anything saucy, well, I would find it insulting if I was kept in the dark. After all, the prince isn't the only one with carrots. Isn't that right, my little rabbits?
I am sure any juicy tidbits that we would find out would be old news to you by the time we heard them.
Perhaps. But that shouldn't stop you from trying.
If anything, Miss Tully, we have absolute intentions as a coterie to uphold and honor this court in every way we can.
That's good. You're speaking the right words. Now let's see if you're smart enough to do the right actions, she whispers. I look forward to seeing how it goes, because either this is going to be an amazing group to watch and is going to be something that builds up to something amazing, or I'm going to be talking about the group of the 5 biggest fuck-ups I have ever heard of in Detroit. And I'd rather not end up thinking that they're in the Camarilla, accepted by the prince and offered a small boon. That would be an embarrassment on his part, and I don't think I could live with myself letting that happen. Frank, you look like you got something to say.
I am curious, but I did not think it would be polite.
Adrian just kind of looks at Frank for a second.
Okay. If that on that glance, I would like you to roll me a composure subterfuge.
Oh.
All right. Oh, wonderful.
Me or Frank?
Both. You're both defending against this. Frank, you could spend a willpower on this.
I don't think you will.
Okay. So what's the look for, Adrian? What exactly is that look?
A look of confusion?
Like you don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on with Frank right now.
Frank, you sound like you're trying to get at something, but you're trying to pussyfoot around it.
Oh, definitely.
What would that be?
Well, he's curious how she got those scars.
Curiosity in her is what you'll read off that. She might not know the full thing, but you're certainly curious. Though it's definitely obvious. That would definitely be a talking point. Come, she looks to you, Frank. I'll tell you what. I'll consider it a boon if you ever figure it out. Small thing. But you said you're the seeker of truth. Why don't you prove it to me? Let's call it a game.
I look forward to the challenge.
If you don't figure it out in a month, you're gonna owe me. Let the games begin. She kind of takes her index finger and taps you on the nose a little bit playfully as she starts to turn and walk away. She seems to be done with you and this evening.
All right, let us go out and reconvene with Apex. I think he ought to know about what just happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back. We're gonna go to the parkade scene. Moving now. You all find yourselves in the downstairs location. Being able to find yourself just a little ways off.
Is this like an enclosed parking lot or an open?
No, this is an open one. This is just the scene I had, and it's a parking lot, so it seemed to be the most appropriate.
I would like to pull the limo around as close as possible to Apex's car.
You do so. It handles still really smoothly.
I take the phone out the glove box and I leave my jacket and tie in the car for now. I am going into slightly more chill mode.
Apex, you finally end up having the trunk open, and a lot of you can see Apex, probably for the first time since this whole mess started. He is covered head to toe in blood. He is currently holding on to what looks like a body that has been crumpled into several pieces and stuffed into what is an double XL shirt that is completely red at this point. He is laying in a pool of coagulated blood, and he looks like a fucking horror story at this point.
The fuck happened to you?
Do you have clothes in your car?
Yep.
Right,
Just
give me
in
your
case.
keys. I will get them for you.
Okay. I'll take my keys out of my pocket and toss it to you.
Vivian, you have bloody keys in your hand.
Vivian, what?
I don't know. I want to find out just as much as you do, but there wasn't time with everything happening.
Oh, God.
Wait, what? What are we talking about right now? I'm not following your conversation.
Look at Apex.
Yeah, he looks like shit.
He is currently covered in blood and holding a t-shirt of what can only be called dog chum at this point.
Ugh.
While you guys went into the club, I stayed by the limo here. But while I was out, this individual, which I kind of hold up the shirt, he was videotaping the vehicle and trying to get a view of the license plate. So I went to try to investigate, and I ended up getting the phone from him. Well, Discord, why? What was the last thing you heard?
The phone. Got the phone.
Okay. And things kind of escalated from there because he wanted to get the phone back. And well,
Yeah, if you stole it from him.
my temper got a little bit out of control. Well, a lot. So this kind of happened because of that.
Oh my god. Tegan is just holding their hand up to their face in absolute disgust.
Vivian would come back with, I'm guessing it's like a duffel bag of your clothes.
Yeah.
Throws it in the back of the limo, and they're just like, get in, get changed.
Okay. While I'm getting changed, all set. Didn't want to smash the guy into a walking smoothie, but
Yeah, but you did.
You caused a confrontation right outside of known Camarilla domain when we were escorting a guest of the prince and nearly caused a giant masquerade breach.
Apex.
yeah, I fucked up really bad.
Apex. When you're hearing this, what it is. This is kind of an interrogation, this bit of browbeating. You don't need this. You don't need this right now. You've been holed up with a body. You've been stuffed in a trunk. You've been humiliated. You've been sitting there with a fucking body in your hands the whole time. And you tried to end up solving a problem. And now all of them just want to end up talking and seem to forget on what you just did can quite easily apply to any one of these four.
I think I'll punctuate that with Frank having his arms crossed and eyes narrowed at Apex.
The getting out of control could have happened to any one of us.
No, because not many of us go picking fights with unknown people out in front of clubs.
A fight.
You went up to him and stole his phone.
Yeah, because he was videotaping the vehicle.
Then ask him to stop. Did you talk to him? Did you engage with him? Did you think anything other than go up and get physical with him?
I took the phone.
Yes, we acknowledge you took the phone. I have the phone. It's right here. I have yet to look at the phone because there were more important things. Did you talk to him? Did you ask him what he was doing? Did you even just ask him to delete the footage?
I asked him what he was doing. He said, buzz off.
And that immediately provokes violence in you, is it? That's what 30 years of military discipline inspires in you?
Rip her to pieces, Apex. Come on. She deserves it. He deserves it.
When he wasn't going to say any more, I was just going to take the phone and get more questions out of him a different way.
A different way? What? How?
Tegan, would you do me a favor, because you're probably right now the best at this, and Adrian, would you be able to roll me the wits plus insight
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely trying to read Apex.
Could I also be part of this?
By all means, but you're a little more focused on what you're speaking. Tegan, Apex is a mess. Adrian,
Hmm.
Apex might not be aware of this, but he is clenching his fists, and you know a man who is about to provoke into violence. Now, you're not 100% sure if he's aware of this or if this is his beast coming out again. But given what just happened,
Alright, everybody just calm your fucking tits.
Look,
I will walk to the back of the limo, grab the body, and dump it in the back of Apex's car, slam the trunk down.
Apex. What's done is done. Point is, right now, we're making the most of the situation. In fact, we have made the most of the situation. And with that, we know what to do in the future. I have trust you. You know what to do as well. So let's go from there. We can plan for the better. Correct?
Okay, I'm fine with that.
We just... Something like that can't happen again.
We understand that. But the truth is that we're all the same kind of creature. We're all equally as liable as Apex.
True.
I fucked up. I'm sorry. I owe you all big.
Yeah, because there was a good chance that we wouldn't walk out of this. We're lucky we walked away with what we did.
Okay. While we resolve that and while I try and see if there's anything actually useful on this phone, Adrian, what the hell happened to you last we heard? You were heading out to talk to someone and then you got hit by a car.
Yeah, I went to go talk to that someone. Their name's Tamara. They were kind of staking out the place, interested in Al. So I figured coax them out with a conversation. Conversation didn't really go anywhere. And next thing I knew, I was hearing screams, and there was Apex with a body in the wall. I am very certain that, well, not certain, I should say, that place is owned by Telly, Harold Telly, right?
Yes, it is.
I don't know if she knows that person is prowling around over there.
I highly
But
doubt she isn't.
I highly doubt she isn't either, but I wasn't sure if I should have brought it up just now. Should I have?
I
We
think
will
at this
leave
point,
that.
Frank is just rubbing like bridge of his nose as if he has a sinus headache, which is possible, but
We will leave that for the sheriff to decide.
Fair enough. What's wrong, Frank?
Also,
If I might make a statement, any further incidents regarding this entire evening, I think it would be fair to say we now have someone we can peg it on. That's beside the point.
I'm gonna check the phone while this conversation is happening.
okay, Vivian. Would you be able to roll me a wits or intelligence technology?
That's just gonna be wits.
Okay. 2 is enough. You don't know the password to it. You're not sure what was recorded. But you do have a number. It is labeled Y. See, it only pops up with the screen name Y. Just the letter. And you end up seeing the single message. Report.
What's wrong, Frank?
I don't blame Apex for succumbing to his beast. He's not perfect. None of us are. I blame him for not thinking or not trusting us enough to come and get us to help him. His mistake, he was acting on his own, trying to do everything himself, when in fact we're supposed to be responsible for each other.
You do realize I don't have any of your numbers, right?
I don't have a phone.
Neither do I.
I typically don't carry one.
I can't use a phone.
But we were inside the club.
It's, I will also point out Apex, and the Camarilla frowns upon phones being used, especially in this city. Last year, during the incident, that is how a lot of kindred were tracked down and destroyed.
Yeah.
There is a reason we do not carry them. They are a liability.
Apex. It might not be
Yeah.
ideal, but I'd like you to roll me a intelligence plus resolve. We're going to reach back into memory here.
Okay.
One isn't going to give you a lot of details, but you remember that frequently the Taliban would communicate to get around jamming signals and what have you. In order to communicate, it would be through signals. Stuff like a plant placed on a window, they allege, would say that, "Come meet me, we have to talk." Or the plan is no go if they end up having a bunch of pigeons or birds currently perched on their roof. These indirect, small, ignorable signs. This might be one of the better ways for you to get small communications to one another without bringing on a lot of attention.
It's... Apex, I'm not sure how much you heard when you were in the back of the trunk, but I said something to Al where it's like, I want to make sure that all kindred can understand and respect our traditions and laws, because my clan are known as the Clan of Assassins. If you don't know us, that's what we do. We are who you call when you need someone found, judged, and given the final death. I am not that sort of person. I consider myself more a scholar. I want to make sure everyone understands, knows, and respects the traditions and the laws for the simple reason of I never want to have to be the judge and executioner. I will help you. I can teach you, but you have to be willing to learn how this world operates. I am not calling you stupid. I am not calling you ignorant. I am just wanting to help you survive. The same as I want to survive. The same way this entire coterie needs to survive.
Help would be much appreciated.
Yeah, let's not have shit like that. What happened last year happen again.
I think it's there. With that warning of remembering the past. We'll end up calling this session. Now, that being said, take a breather, everybody. Take a breather.
I seriously, to fucking Christ, thought you were going to tell Telly right then and there that someone else saw it.
Oh, Frank doesn't know that.
Okay, well, cool. Tegan said that, but that's okay. Yeah, we'll just go with that.
Yeah.
Anytime we as a coterie need to discuss sensitive information, Frank, could you just take a walk? Frank is our paladin whenever we need to do something slightly illegal or immoral.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, sort of true.
Can I also just say group hug and high fives all around? Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
I'm sorry for the whole bit of Apex, threatening that, yeah, he's about to frenzy again. But it's like, yeah, all it took was a punch from a mortal to set him off, and now he's got 4 kindred starting to get on him.
Just out of interest, Volvo, what is your resolve and composure?
At this point, he has 3 dice.
Ugh. Right up there with Benji. GG.
That's why. So, to clarify, oftentimes when I end up asking for, or even hinting at a chance of somebody frenzying, I already am taking their resolve and composure into mind, because if that same thing happened to Vivian, I wouldn't even call it out. But the fact that Apex is a Brujah with only 2 and 2s, hence the -1.
And yeah, I will also say, like, for what Al confronted Vivian on, and the fact that, like, Vivian is nervous, yeah, Vivian has 4 dots resolve, but only 2 dots composure.
Which still makes him very much above average.
Oh yeah, but it's he will do the job, but he will be freaking out while doing it.
Yeah. He's freaking out, but he's still capable of doing it. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
But
That's kind of the same with Adrian.
I think that's true for a lot of people in that regard. Now, that being said,
we got a coterie boon.
Oh my god.
You got a yeah. It's a trivial boon, but
Spend it wisely.
But it's an important one, because sometimes a trivial boon owed by the right person is more important than a life boon owed by a nobody.
Yep. We hang on to it and we spend it wisely.
Congratulations, by the way, Frank. You are now challenged.
Challenge? Oh yeah, right.
So you got a
I
month.
finally get to do research next session.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Well, you got a few things that you can guess, but
Yeah, there's already the connection to the Annex. There's the fact that he knows her name. Hopefully it's the same name. that he can use to search records.
Oh yeah, also guys, assuming Y is just a simple initial, Missy and I just lost a ghoul tonight.
I'm pretty sure.
Could be.
See, I wouldn't know that because I didn't play last game.
It's
Yeah.
all good. If
I
they're right on that one, is they can metagame and think that that's the case, but it's not confirmed. And
no, that is nowhere near confirmed. That is making the big assumption that the Y is an initial.
Yeah.
But to put this to help Spectre Deflector understand this, Yanai is the Ventru heavy for the Anarchs. And to put this into perspective, her rival was Pride. You might have heard of him.
Probably.
Yeah. The thing about Pride is Pride could literally upend a semi-trailer.
He the Bruja of Brujas, right?
Yeah, and Yanai was his rival. As in, could fight Pride and survive.
And go toe to toe, pretty much.
Oh dear. Okay, well, all right. So
We have an Apex, so
yeah.
should
And-
be okay.
Oh god.
No offense, but
Oh my god.
and this is absolutely zero offense meant, Volvo. I'm not sure Apex is even the strongest kindred in the Coterie right now. Simply because of the way he's built, the way of some of his design. When it comes to combat, you have some advantages, but I also had to experience Decker versus two actual melee combatants. Guns can only do so much.
But that being said, we have to do experience, ladies and gentlemen. So, just in case you're new here, we're going to end up explaining how we do experience in Detroit. So, each player gets one experience right out of the gate. Okay?
Yay.
Then, we have 3 categories which can award bonus experience based on the votes from the Coterie. Okay? That is, who progressed the plot the furthest, who had the best scene, and who had the best one-liner. Alright? But then there is one last one. And this one's given to by you, the audience, by majority vote. The 5 kindred you see on screen, you vote for. Who is it that you want to give that extra bit of experience to? Who entertained you the most? Who was your favorite clan? Who did you like the interactions with? You get to decide, and by whatever measure you choose to do it with. You don't need to justify your choices, you just need to put down a name. But that being said, let's start with the first category. Who progressed the plot the furthest?
I want to give it to Rose for coming up with a plan, but I also want to kind of give it to me for pushing it.
I mean,
You could also end up arguing that it was Adrian that ended up giving you guys the opportunity to pull any of this off.
That's
I
true.
will point out though that was last session.
It might be, but still him influencing the events.
Well,
I didn't
one
plan to
minor
get hit by a car.
one-
But you know.
In terms of pure advancing the plot, it's like I was the one in front of the parents. I
Sure.
was the one who got us acknowledged and got us that boon.
Okay.
It's true.
Also, the one who got Al, because he said look him up later.
Okay.
I also got the body in the trunk.
It's true. It's true.
Nice.
Vivian was the plot mover today.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do plot for Vivian. Second, who had the best scene? Now, I know there was a lot of shared scenes, but who do you think had the strongest in those shared scenes, or who had the best solo scene? There was one or two that could be made out.
I think Tegan, just in their handling of the whole debacle with Adrian, like all the way through.
Yeah, the ambulance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say I did like it when Adrian had to pretend to get injected with adrenaline.
What would happen if you injected a kindred with adrenaline?
Absolutely
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
To answer 90% of the questions like that, you just have to think, what would happen if I did this to a corpse?
Yeah, fair point.
I mean, I thought it was pretty fun coming back to life.
Quote unquote, coming back to life.
Quote.
Yeah, and
I'll
my
go
vote
to
for
that.
best scene.
I'll go to Adrian for the acting. It was great.
His bad acting.
Simbas, sadly, yes, you are a bit late, but you can watch this VOD going up very soon.
Yeah,
This is not an episode to miss. I will put it that way.
yeah, most certainly. Okay, so Adrian gets the
Woo.
second one. So, best one-liner.
Calm your fucking tits.
See, and I'm also going to vote for Adrian, but for a different line. And it was pretty much the first line of the session.
Oh.
Well, I didn't mean to get hit by a car.
Yeah, I like that too.
It was never my intention.
Yeah, I'll give it to that.
Okay.
I didn't plan on getting hit by a car.
All right. Well. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to put your votes in. We'll be counting them up shortly. So, vote for one of the 5 kindred, and make sure they're able to be counted. I can already see that we have one vote for Adrian, but let's see on where everybody else votes. Remember, even if you're lurking, all it takes is just 5 seconds to be able to end up typing it in, and it doesn't matter what your reason. No bias here. It's just a case of what was your preference, who did you like, and we're going to reward that person. But, that being said, what did you guys think?
Well, that was fun.
That was fun.
Even better than I expected.
I'm still anticipating that complication that came up as a result of my success. At a cost.
So many.
I am pretty sure Telly knew, or like the prince knew, someone knew in that court exactly what happened.
There was someone we didn't talk to in that court.
There's a bunch of people we didn't.
If you're talking about Rochelle, yes, we have not addressed her yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a guess it's probably her, and that's why she was there.
Maybe.
Not necessarily. I think she was more there to pick up Al.
It's safe to assume that that's something that she would have been there doing anyway. But what she was doing aside from that, who knows?
Okay, I just want to double check something.
Oh, God. So, study session.
Again?
Always.
I listen back to the VODs every day, pretty much, so...
All right. Well, everybody, we're going to... Right now I got 2 votes for Frank. Looking for any other votes. We're going to give it one more minute. Any feedback, anything you guys want to end up bringing to the table?
I'm sorry that my internet was derpy.
Hey, you want to know what? We can hear you fine now. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was having internet outages.
Don't worry. Volvo's been having the same problem in a different regard.
Comcast is dumb.
I have literally counted every single disconnect. I disconnected over 30 times this session, yo.
God damn.
Damn.
Okay, so that being said, it looks like we got 3 votes for Frank. Congratulations, Frank, specifically because you decided to end up yelling, Adrian!
Yep.
There we go. Sometimes it's the weird little things that end up getting you the vote. So, congratulations, Frank. You got the first bit of experience. Now, I believe there's actually one forgotten stain that I didn't have a chance to roll for, but I want to double check that.
Yep.
I don't think we ever did actually roll for Apex.
No,
that.
we didn't.
No.
Because
I mean,
didn't
to be fair,
assign.
it wasn't the end of the night necessarily.
Let's take a look here. I'm gonna say that one of your convictions drops it down from a 2 stain to a 1 stain.
Okay.
So I need you. You're gonna have 1 stain, so I need you to roll me 2 dice to see if you regret anything.
Okay.
Remorse check, 2 dice.
Mm.
There's our first humanity loss of the game.
Oh,
Oof.
Apex, that son of a bitch had it coming. He wanted to live, should have just let you have the fucking phone.
Yeah?
You feel nothing. It's like pulling the trigger all over again. Yeah, your hands are a little bit more damped. Yeah, you're maybe a little bit more jacked than you used to back in the day, but it's his own goddamn fault. Clear off that stain. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close out for the evening, and then we're going to end up doing some character creation. Specifically, we're going to flesh out some NPCs for Detroit and have some fun. I'm going to probably stay in the voice chat with the players for tonight, and for anybody who wants to just talk shop. And we're going to end up going down character creation and how I go about it, especially when I'm building for a campaign, any kind of chronicle. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in, let's say, 9 minutes to start the Vampire the Masquerade workshop. I hope to see you all there. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
have a good
Good
evening.
night.
Good night.